Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be seeing this, wherever you are in the world joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Judy Galek. I am here with Karen Lanka Hedman and Jill Disser. I am a holistic anxiety coach. I help people overcome anxiety in the most natural way possible using their thoughts and awareness and coping tools and skills. So welcome to Coping and Thriving. From coping to thriving. Karen.
Hi, everybody. As Judy said, my name is Karen Lanka Hedman. I am a holistic mental wellness coach that really focuses on the connection between the gut and the brain and that axis in between. And that holistic piece is all the lifestyle components that we sometimes take for granted, sleep, eating, movement, what we are putting in our bodies, the air we're breathing, and how are we nurturing that our gut microbiome so we feel better mentally and emotionally and physically. Thanks. To you, Jill.
Hello, everybody. I am Jill Disser, and I'm a mindfulness facilitator and coach. And um, I teach people how to be aware of what they're feeling, where they're feeling it inside their bodies, and making them aware of if it's making them feel good or not, and how to change those feelings and um, how to uh, change how they react to them and uh, go into a better life and uh, health. You,
Awesome.
Judy.
Thank you so much, you both. Oh my God. Welcome again, everyone. So from coping to thriving, this workshop was inspired because we both work with people and well, not both, like we all three of us here work with people to help them overcome anxiety. That's one of the key components that the one thing that we all have in common, I want to say. I love telling people that I don't treat anxiety, and neither does Karen and Jill. Like, we don't treat anxiety. We literally teach people how to be so much more aware of themselves to the point that they can master their thoughts, master their emotions, master how they react to those things. So, it's important to really decipher and have a conversation about what thriving looks like, right? But first, I think it would be good too, like to discuss what is coping looks like, right? A lot of people who come to me, they get stuck, like they're stuck in that cycle of coping, trying so many different things. They start new medications. Medications are working wonderfully, and then at one point it stops working, right? So constantly having to try new things, doing a bunch of things, but then still waking up anxious, right? And a lot of people too, with coping, people who are like coping from anxiety, I find that many of them wait until they start feeling anxious to start implementing their coping skills. Right. So for me, like that's what I would say, like someone who's coping, that's literally what they're doing. That's the cycle they're stuck in. Just like the anxious cycle. They're unaware of their thoughts, they're unaware of why they feel the way they do. And they mostly feel like it mostly feels like for them that anxiety just shows up from out of nowhere, right? Because they're unaware of the root causes, the underlying factors that, leads to one other person's coming in. Hello, thank you so much for joining. So we're talking about what coping is, what coping from anxiety is. So for me, that's what I see. Like that's my assessment. That's how it was for me too when I used to be coping with anxiety, right? Like, waiting for me to get in the car and feeling like I'm about to die because someone's trying to like crush me or run me over for me to like stop breathing. And sometimes I would like forget the coping tools. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. And social skills, like all the places that I would go and feel anxious. Like I would literally wait to feel the anxiety and start coping. But Karen, let's hear your standpoint, like your assessment of this. Like, what does it look like when you were just coping, or now when you look at other people, like based on your transformation and of everything you've done to get to where you are right now, like
Yeah.
you're no longer coping, you're thriving. But what does it look like for you when you were just coping?
Yeah. I think oftentimes, I'll speak for my own experience, is people don't necessarily know what we're going through when we're coping. I would kind of leapfrog throughout my day to be able to show up for work, to be able to, make a meal or, something like that, where it was just that um, life was a struggle bus in between those events that I would have to show up for, and so many people just didn't know that that's what my life looked like. They assumed I was good. Um, my history was stemming from depression. I was dealing with a long-term low-level depression for many, many years. And I just wanted to be understood. I wanted to be saved. What was the thing that was going to save me? And I began to have a lot of anxiousness about my life just slipping away while I was just getting by in this state of not feeling good, not being able to take advantage of this precious life that we were given. And so, um, once I eventually understood that there was something underlying, this wasn't just me sucking at life, um, I wanted to be saved at that point. Okay, what is the answer? Like, who's the therapist that's going to save me? What is the medication that's going to turn things around? And when I went that route, it wasn't the answer for me. It was like I would go to see a therapist or psychologist, and the diagnosis even felt hollow. It just I didn't feel seen as this whole person. I was prescribed a medication that I took, and I was like, okay, is the medication going to be the answer? And I actually felt less bad about not feeling good, was my response to the medication. I didn't feel good on it. I cared a little bit less that I wasn't feeling good. And for me, that was no way to live. And that started my journey for the really holistic path, um, which I mentioned earlier, which was really the gut brain connection for me, and finding a more thriving place and built on that journey. But that was that I felt very alone. Um, in the coping phase, I felt like my life, I was coming up short in life, and I was just like throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to find the thing or the person that would save me.
Yeah. I love your choice of words, Karen. Um, it does feel like, oh, you're um just throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Oh, is this gonna stick? Is this the thing that's gonna work? Is this the thing that's going to save me? Oh, everybody's talking about this person, or maybe this person can help me, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny because like the best money I spent on myself was to learn that no one else can save me. Isn't that
We
crazy?
all want to be saved, but
Yes,
it's
yes.
an inside job.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like that whole process, like trying different things just to learn that okay, I've got to change internally, right? I have to do something differently for me to get a different outcome.
And it can be a little scary to realize that, and it can also be really empowering.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh, okay, I can do this with these tools, but it's like, yeah, I wanted to be saved. I wanted to someone to give me the answer. I wanted this supplement to work for me and
Mm-hmm.
the thing that was supposedly gonna solve the problem. And yeah, it's a tough reconciliation when you're in that space of being like, okay, it's really in my hands, but what bridges that gap of the scariness to the empowerment is realizing that when you lean in to the right thing, it will make the difference. And the key is finding the right thing. And obviously, we all found the right thing for us in different paths. And that's why I think this sharing our stories is really helpful because I remember that feeling of leaning in on the wrong things and being discouraged. And it was just this loop. And so that's, I think, the message that we're trying to share at this point is okay, let's find the right thing for you, for the people that are still throwing the spaghetti at the wall. I'd love to hear your version
Yeah.
of the coping, Jill.
Yeah. So that the taking the wrong step. So that's you take the wrong step and you just want to give up. And it's doing that again and again and just wanting to give up and give up. And that's our tendency to do that. And it's what does it is taking those little baby steps and doing a little baby step and something works and then okay that worked and then taking another little baby step and that worked and then you could fall back again and part of it is that feeling alone and I felt very alone and I tend to go inside myself and not share and um, mine was extremely pervasive when I was sick. I would just went inside myself and didn't share, um, and felt like I couldn't, which is a major flaw. And I think I learned that from childhood. I just couldn't express myself. It wasn't a thing I did. So um, when I started to use my breath, which I realized I had within me everywhere I went. I didn't have to rely on anybody else. I didn't have to, there was no side effects to it. Um, I could regulate it. I could change it. It, I could slow things down. I could speed things, whatever it was. For me, it worked really, really well. And I was able to change my scenario. And I worked with a bunch of people that um, helped me to uh, just change how I could uh, see myself. To take a step back, I guess, was the best way. Take a pause. And that's what I teach is you, no matter how screwed up things are in life, if you can just stop for a second and take a step back and realize that thing, things are going to work out, maybe not the way that you want it to, they're going to work out. And it might not be the best scenario, but then you take that little baby step again towards whatever that direction is, and you go that way. It might not be your ideal situation, but it ends up being something else. And you have to be flexible and go that way. And so the coping mechanism is that you have to be fluent. I realize that being fluent is okay. And life is like that. It's not rigid, it can't be. Things are constantly changing. We can't control everything, and that's okay. Realizing that for me has made thriving accessible. So that has gotten me to this um, much better level. I am much happier that way because you can't change everything on the exterior, but you have to be okay with it as it comes, and you can only deal with what you can deal with. And that has helped me to thrive.
Yeah. Amazing, Jill. Thank you so much. One thing you said, right? You kind of like just went over it very quickly. Um, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned something about having someone else point out some things to you about yourself, right? And I think that's one of the most important key aspect or the most important thing in regards to like working with someone else, right? That person is not going to fix you. He or she is not going to save you. However, there are some things about yourself that can be pointed out, right? Some things that you are doing or thinking, thought process, mindset, right? It's all everything is mental. It's not just in the mind, it's also in the body, right? However, when you have when you have someone say to you, hey, like, do you notice yourself doing this thing? Do you notice yourself thinking this way? Or how do you feel when you're thinking this thought, right? Sometimes we get so much into ourselves that the experience feels right. Like it feels righteous, And it usually takes someone else to point out to us like, hey, like this isn't really like you could think about this differently. Like everything is okay. It's not that big of a deal. And everything is working out, right? And that's one belief that I would encourage everyone to nurture and like take on that everything is working out. Everything is always working out. And what is a belief, right? A belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. How do you get yourself to believe something? The way I did it, I literally like record myself saying things, affirmations, and listen to it at night or morning whenever I can. I also write down my affirmations, like just also just saying them too, right? Just repeating them just to get yourself to believe the thought, right? But once you believe that everything is working out, everything is okay, then it kind of like takes the worriness, like the anxiousness out of the whole process because you believe that things are going to be okay. You're not worried about, oh my God, what if this and what if that, which is what anxiety is, right? That thought process of worst case scenario, catastrophizing everything, right? And just fear, like fear of the worst thing happening. Like, what will you do? How will you handle it? All of that stuff, right? Um, so yeah, someone take it from me. I
Yeah,
can
I
talk
got it.
about this forever.
I got you because you inspired me on a that piece of it is having a conversation with somebody to be heard about like where are you at? Somebody particularly I think is helpful when somebody can relate to your experience. But for an example, if I do when I do an initial call with somebody, we'll just go kind of through some what's happening right now, what's life looking like, and it's so easy. Like we think, okay, I'm doing this, I'm hydrating, I'm sleeping, or whatever. This is my pattern. Um, and so often we're so close. We're doing a lot of things right. And there's little tweaks that we can make that someone that's not the person currently struggling can be that sounding board and be like, okay, you're doing a lot of things right. There's just like this little mind shift or this little tool that when put into place the pieces all fall into place, where it's like I think when we're really struggling, we don't realize we're actually pretty close to turning that corner. It's just having that reflection, tweaking a little bit, sometimes a little bit more as we go on, but those things will start proving when you show up consistently in that way that wow, I actually am starting to feel better and maybe I can tweak this next piece of it or put this tool into place because I'm starting to get shored up enough to feel like I can show up a little bit more in my life in a focused with a little more focused attention without spiraling. I like to think of it as at least when I work with people, bringing up the baseline. Sometimes, it's you can imagine you're driving a car and you're trying to get in and like to get into a turn lane and people aren't letting you in and you're like that's my turn. Like, are you gonna let me in? Kind of thing. And people can get so mad in those situations. The person that you're trying to get in front of can get furious. And I'm like, their baseline they have so I think of it shoring up my baseline, but some people have no capacity left. They're so right here that the tipping point is somebody trying to get in front of them to get into the turn lane and they're ballistic over it. That is a person that is tapped out. And I think we see that so often in life that people don't have that capacity to roll with the punches as much. Kind of like what Jill was saying, that we have this fluidity when we're doing better, that we can roll with the punches a little bit more. If you're tapped out in your day to day, you don't have that capacity to be reasonable and like wave a person in so they can get past you and take their turn. That makes just common sense. But if you're operating so tapped out, you're not gonna, you're gonna be like, your emotions are gonna be all over the place. Your instincts are gonna be way off base. And so I like to think of us gradually shoring up our baseline so we can operate in a world that's imperfect. We can take a hit of getting some bad news or getting sick or something like that and not completely spiral out of control. And so I think that's when working with a person can help us get our bearings. Yes, I would say most of the things that we do in our own time, but having that reflection and getting those tools tweaked out for us is a very, very powerful part of the healing
Hmm.
process for me.
Yeah, I wanted to say like the consistency is a key thing of what you were just saying. So if you're not consistent, if you don't make yourself a priority, um, it makes it much harder. So if you say to yourself, I'm going to do this, I'm going to um, make this time so that when I need it later, I'm going to throw somebody under the bus here, Jerry here. She um, had a a liver transplant, and when she needed it, she would use the breathing techniques that she learned with me, and she says it all the time that she would. Do you want to share, Jerry, or would you want me to do it?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerry. I had a lot of procedures done, and they were tender that if things went wrong, they were going to go very wrong. So I would breathe and picture that everything was going to be okay. And that focused my mind on my breath instead of, are they going to screw up or am I going to die from this? And I used it a lot, made a big difference.
Yeah. So she had the tools to be able. She had the practice of the tool of the breath to be able to self calm. She was able to take a step back. And I mean, it didn't work all the time. She was still scared. She had that fear. But at the same time, she was rational and had that ability to use it. And she would share that with me. And that is the whole point. So you can use that with everything, not just, in the hospital, but anxiety starts to build. There's different tools that you can, a 5 minute step back of, there's 5 finger breathing. There's all these different things that I have in my toolbox that I can share with people you can, that you can implement. And it's a practice, and consistency is key.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. That is so true. It is a shift in mindset, right? As Jerry mentioned, it was like from freaking out, what's gonna happen wrong, the thing that's gonna go wrong, right? To reminding yourself that everything is okay. I can shift my thought process instead of focusing on what's going wrong. I can focus on what has gone right so far and how they're gonna keep continuing to go right, right? I think that's so key because a lot of people don't understand it. And I know I'm remembering, if I don't remember correctly, Jill, please correct me, but Jill mentioned something about how it's learned behavior, right? So, and anxiety is learned behavior. I remember hearing from certain family members, oh, you have to worry about this. Why aren't you worried about this? They literally tell you you
Yeah.
have to worry about this stuff.
Oh, it's
And
a habit. It's a
yeah,
habit. Yeah.
yeah, it is a habit. And no one taught me, I think I'm 38 or 39. No one taught me in my 38, 39 years of life that wherever I put my focus on is what expands. So, meaning if I'm focusing on the worst case scenario, catastrophizing the thing, right? Expecting the worst, that's literally what I will be experiencing, right? And it wasn't until I was like in my 20s I was just learning that, oh, when I'm focusing on the worst, whatever I'm focusing on, that not only is going to affect how I feel, but it's literally going to bring about that experience that I don't want, right? So most of my journey had been a unlearning journey,
Yeah.
right? Shifting my thought process one moment at a time. And as Jerry and Jill pointed out, it's not always going to be perfect, right? We will have these moments. We will get sick. Bad things will happen. But it's in the navigation in all of this, navigating through life with fear and overwhelm and chaos, or navigating through life with peace, grace, and love, right? Which is what thriving is about. So,
Yeah.
let's shift a little bit, but before I shift, I would love to put a question out to the audience, and please feel free to use the chat, just share your experience. You don't have to, verbally share if you don't feel like it, but I would invite you to take a moment and assess your experience. Have you been coping or are you thriving? Okay. Where do you see yourself coping? Like what are you coping with? What's the thing that always bothers you? Okay. What's the thing that's so annoying? Like whenever you think about it, it's like it doesn't like feel good. Does that make sense? So please, like I would love to. Is that a fair question, you guys? Yeah, just to kind of like assess a moment, take a moment and assess where are you? Are you coping or are you thriving? But let's go into like what does thriving looks like? What does it mean to be thriving? Jill, you want to take it away?
Yeah. So again, thriving is uh, it's it's about being okay with how things are. It's not about perfection. It's about again that flexibility, because things are always coming at you, no matter what happens. Um, it's about being okay with who you are, where you are, um, and what you're doing. So,
And how you feel.
and yes, yeah, and definitely how you feel. Um, I am at a point in my life that um, I just I am loving what I do. Um, I I love where I am and how it makes me feel. So I late in life found my passion and um, and I'm good at it. So I feel like I am thriving in life. Um, and it's it like I said, bad things keep happening, but I'm okay with it. And I think that's the key. It's just being okay with things that just happen. Um, and going with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you
that to
so
me is
much, Jim.
thriving.
Yeah. What about you, Karen? Before we go to Karen, there is a comment in the chat. Jerry mentioned, I'm thriving most of the time. If I don't like something, I ask if I can change my attitude or if it can wait so I'm not pressured to do it right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a I want to say minor, but minor is not the right word. It's a slight shift in mindset, one moment at a time, right? Literally like reminding yourself that everything's okay. I don't have to do this one thing right now, right? And I forgot who says this, if you don't like the way something is, if you don't like the way something is, then if you can't change the thing, you have to change how you're looking at it and how you're seeing it, right? So for instance, if you don't like the weather's not gonna change, right? You can't change the weather. So you have to really assess how is it that you're looking at it, right? Could you look at it in a different way? Could you think about it and approach it in a different way that would feel better? Right?
Hmm.
And that's what that slight shift is about, moment at a time. And I'll mention again how sometimes it can feel so righteous, like it's so right to feel angry, to feel negative, like, oh, like I'm so pissed. This shouldn't have happened. So and so shouldn't have said this or done that or whatever. And it isn't until someone else points out to us that, oh, the way we're looking at it, the way we're thinking about this is what's affecting our mood, is what's affecting the way we feel and how we're showing up. So,
Yeah.
um, very important. Like it's everything. Karen?
Yeah, I appreciate the spaciousness I felt with Jerry's comment too. It's like, okay, you have enough space to navigate and be like, I'm gonna sidebar that, or I'm gonna I have the capacity in this moment to shift a little thing. So thanks for sharing that, Jerry. Um, my experience of thriving, it was a little baby step kind of thing. First, there was that awareness of, for me, like particularly that gut brain connection. I like to do things very holistically. But when I learned about the gut microbiome and that I could be very selective and add something in my morning routine that would help me start feeling better, that was where the shift began. And then I gradually felt like, okay, instead of shaming myself for not going and taking a walk that I know will help me feel better, I actually have the capacity to put on my shoes and get myself out the door. And so I would find that my walk would help me feel better. And I just, on that building, I found that I would have better sleep would start coming in, and I had more capacity to make a healthy meal instead of just trying to, stare at the refrigerator or find something in the cabinet. So for me, it was a lifestyle build based on changing what was happening in my microbiome. Um, and now what I would say it really looks like for me is I have energy. I have a little more spaciousness. So, yes, I can ride the waves of life. I'm not like, I've always been an optimistic person, but I'm also a realist.
Mhm.
And so I'm not into like everything is all hearts and flowers all the time. It's, yes, I have a positive attitude, but I like to back that with positivity and realism and And so for me, like that example that you were sharing, Judy, it's like, yeah, I'm not the like I'm a complex human being that doesn't feel good all the time, that doesn't feel bad all the time, that might say something that I regret, but I show up for it. I'll say I'm sorry if I said something that was inappropriate to a person. I don't shame myself for not being perfect, which is very, very freeing because then when we're like more of an open book, we can be real, but we can be gracious also. So now thriving looks like sleeping better, having more energy, having a better attitude overall, um, feeling less stressed. I feel like resilience is the word that I want to use in my life. So I have better resilience. I have tools in my back pocket if I have a tough conversation or I receive bad news and I'm about to go to bed. I can spiral. I think we can all be in that space where we're like not being able to fall asleep is would have been a problem. Now I have a tool that I can apply in those situations and get a good night's sleep so I have greater capacity. So those are some of the things. And one thing both of you said was about that consistency and the ability to lean into something. I think you think about finding something that works and having confidence that it's going to work. It's that you do you know Joe Dispenza? I believe it's Be You Are the Placebo. He wrote a book,
Yeah.
something along those lines. It's that placebo effect. Even if you're talking about a drug, if a drug trial, some people get the drug, some people get a sugar pill, for example. People with the sugar pill, if they believe that it's going to work for them, it can make a difference in a lot of cases. And so that is a powerful thing. I think so often we get jaded, and even if we try something new, we don't put our heart behind it. We doubt that it's going to work for us. It's one more thing somebody's trying to sell me on that's not going to work for me. That's a powerful mindset. So my suggestion in the thriving department is if you're going to try something on, believe it's going to work for you. Be consistent with it. Give it a fair shot.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's weeks, sometimes it's months, but it's a practice that builds upon and will help you actually feel better when you lean in that way. And so that's the one thing I wanted to also throw in there is like that consistency matters, the mindset matters. Those are both really important tools, and it's not about snowing ourselves. It's giving something a real opportunity to work for us.
That, Karen.
Felt like I really
Yeah.
went off on a tangent there, Judy.
No, this was great. It was great. It's you said a lot there, and
Yeah.
we could unpack a lot of it, right?
Right.
But this is I think it's enough information. If
Yeah.
people are curious, they can look more into it.
Yeah.
If they really want this, they have an idea of what actually worked, right? Consistency is key. um Doing, like, practicing, making second nature a coping tool or that works for you, right? That's key. Like finding something that you really enjoy doing and making it second nature, meaning like not waiting for the anxiety to start practicing it, but practicing it as much as possible, just to get in the habit of being in the practice of it. um, which is key, right? And you mentioned something about like believing, like believing that whatever you're doing is working. One thing I share with my clients often is that the specific coping tool itself doesn't really matter. It could be breath work, meditation, journaling, walking, whatever it is. But unless you believe that it's actually working for you, it will be much like, washing your hands and just wiping it on the ground, right? It may feel like you're doing all the things, all the right things, but they're not getting enough result because of that lack of like slight shift in thought process, right? And I shared earlier, and I'll say it again because repetition is key with learning, right? A belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. Who said that? Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks, you guys, I see, Dean, you're nodding your head. You know who Abraham Hicks is? Okay. So we've mentioned two people here in this workshop so far, Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks. I would highly suggest that you look into these people. But Abraham Hicks says a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. How do you get yourself to believe a thought? By thinking it over and over and over again, right? Journaling, hearing it, repeating it, writing it, like all the things, which is key. So it is that unlearning and just making things second nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else wanna like add something, Jill?
No, that was great.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Yeah.
What does coping look like for you, Jill? I know you kind of briefly mentioned, but like, do you mind sharing a little bit more?
Yeah. Just getting by. Letting life coast. Um, I just letting everybody. One of the things Karen said was looking for someone to give me the answers. Um, Kind of stepping out of myself and wanting someone to do it for me, and hoping that that would be the answer. Um, and if someone does make that answer for me, I don't feel good. Um, so that for me is coping. And like I said, I was like when I was sick, I it was easier to have that done for me. When I started getting better, it didn't work anymore. So um, that's when I started taking those little baby steps and realizing that coping is not an answer. Um, Having to take little bitty steps and seeing how it goes, and failing and not wanting to do it anymore and not wanting to fail. I mean, that's not fun. Who wants to do that? Um, but having to do it and going out, and forcing yourself, like going out for that walk. I don't want to go out for the walk. Well, go out for the short walk and then, okay, that was all right. And then for longer walks. And then, like Karen says, like, okay, that felt good. You come back and you're like, that felt really good. And now one of the things I do is I'm a dog walker and I love it. So that's one of the thriving things. It's like I do that now. Now it's like 4 times a day I'm walking dogs, and it's such a great thing, even when the weather's crappy. So it's just one of those things that I wouldn't have discovered. Um, so you discover things when you're coping that you wouldn't have. So just getting through, um, just experimenting, I guess, to get to the point where you can. So when you're coping, I would suggest experiments, doing things that you might not have done, um, talking to people, um, trying to get advice, um, picking up on little things. That's one of the things I did talk to. Um, I got into the meditation um, reluctantly, but it was the biggest thing that I could have done, and has gotten me to where I am now. And that's gotten me to thrive more than anything else. Hoping I don't want to go back to that for sure.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about your thriving, Judy. But one thing that I wanted to add in there before that is about trusting your gut. Um, that is not just a coincidence for when I talk about the gut brain connection, but I think when we're kind of scattered in our thoughts and unfocused and stressed out, it gets harder to monitor what our gut instinct is. And so, as you practice that, as you hear about different tools, practice feeling into your gut instinct, and that is a muscle you can actually grow. So a lot of times I'll speak for myself. I'll listen to a workshop or somebody's putting out a training, and it sounds really good, and I'm like, "Oh, should I sign up for this training? Do I want to learn more about that? It's really expensive, but is it worth it? Like should I?" And that in unsure place can be really stressful. And I've practiced enough now that I can drop into my gut and listen to the signals. Is this seem like the right thing for me? Is this chatter in my mind real or is it fear-based? And what is my heart, gut, mind connection actually saying about this thing? Is this a thing I want to lean into? So it's being discriminating about what we want to lean into because we talk about that. So I did want to bring that in about being consistent and giving something a real try. But the
Mm.
step before that is, does this feel right somewhere in my body that it's worth my time, effort, energy to lean into and practice consistently? And so that is something that we can all practice no matter, like in every decision. Do I want to go down this lane to find a parking spot or that lane? What's your gut tell you?
Mm.
Like little tiny things throughout the day, and it actually gets better with practice. So I wanted to offer that. But Judy, I would love to hear what thriving looks like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen. One thing you said, Karen, though, I wanted to kind of make a point on because it's inspiring, right? But the unlearning process and also like what feels natural, right? What feels natural to me. And I want to tell you all, like journaling did not feel natural to me. Even breathing, like when I heard about breath work, the power of being intentional with how you breathe and not holding in your breath and allowing the breath to flow freely through the body, all of that felt unnatural. Learning about my thoughts, all of that felt unnatural because that's just not how I grew up, you know? So it was a lot of like unlearning process in the way I couldn't trust my gut because my gut was like just shot from a lot of things I learned that were not serving me, expectation of society and family, not knowing what I want, right? Like more focusing on what would make other people happy because we think, oh, if I do XYZ, they would like me, they would accept me, they would, this, and that. Not knowing that really, if if I feel okay about myself, that's the most important thing, right? Even if someone feels okay about me, but I don't feel okay about me, like that doesn't make it like it's how I feel about me. So it was a whole unlearning process. And I want to give it an example really with my driving anxiety, right? I used to, once I started becoming aware of thoughts and everything, I would literally shame myself for having certain thoughts. Like, oh, you should not be thinking that thought. You should not be feeling this way. You should not do this. And what's wrong with you? So I literally felt like there was something wrong with me, that I was broken, that I couldn't help I was looking for a savior, someone to like save me, right? As we've shared and pointed out that you have to save yourself. So little by little, I learned that you have to save yourself. Like you have to be more mindful of your thought process. If I want to go out for a walk, if I find that walking can help me, and it's, breathing, like the whole process, like breathing in nature and just being one with nature, being mindful, um, like I really had to be aware of the thoughts I was experiencing right before the action. Like, because I would find myself saying, like, oh, this sucks. Why do I have to do this? This is terrible. I don't feel like walking, this and that, right? But once I started becoming more aware of my thoughts and I had the willingness to just change them, right? To shift my thought process. Oh, I do like walking. Walking would help me. I'm gonna feel better after I do this, right? Which is what I tell myself, like going to the gym now, I have to remind myself, I'm gonna feel better after a workout. Like it may not feel good going into it, but this is for my benefit. It's going to be like that's gonna be so much more um it's going to be so much more benefits instead of like, oh, oh, sleep better, I feel better, like all the things, right? So for me, it was a matter of reminding myself the positive aspects of certain tools and being aware of my thought process and having the willingness to change them, to think differently. So now I can see anxiety like a mile away, right? I have an event coming on. Like, what am I thinking about the event? What am I thinking about how I feel? What am I thinking about what I'm wearing? What am I thinking about what other people may feel, right? So that whole process really helped me like hone in my thoughts and think on purpose. Am I perfect doing this? No. Do I still have negative thoughts? Yes. Am I judging myself for these negative thoughts though? No. I'm no longer doing that. So I don't shame myself anymore. I'm not belittling myself. I respect myself. I practice self-respect. And if I find myself having like a thought process that's not really supportive of my well-being, then I journal it. I literally put the thoughts on paper and unpack it one word at a time, right? I
Mm.
that's my self-coaching process. Now, is this easy? No, it's not easy, right? It's hard and all the things, right? But that's what makes it I want to say adventurous and fun, but whatever, right? It's a matter of having the right support, having the right support and having people in your corner, people who can remind you of certain things, of the truth, right? And help you feel empowered, like reminding you that you can actually do this. And it's okay. Everything is okay. Like what are you focusing on, right? Shifting that thought process. So little by little. I said a lot
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no, that was great. It is, life is a practice. And I so appreciate that you said your instincts were different and like because of how you were raised, you couldn't really trust your gut. Thank you so much for bringing that up because that's like when we start going with the evidence of okay, this is my mindset, but it's not working. So do I need to look at what is my mindset? Do I maybe try on something that doesn't feel right, like breathing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, full breathing will actually be really good for you, and you shove that away. It's like, okay, maybe I should take another look at that, yeah, kind of thing. But it's interesting how we all come up in our own ways with our own perspectives and then taking a look at the evidence. Because if we're doing great, we don't really have to reflect back on our mindset, that kind of thing. We're like, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. I don't need to examine this. But if you're not doing great and you're really rigid in your thinking or your instincts, then it's like, okay, can I take a step back and be open to some other possibilities being true? And that thing with the walking that you both talked about is I'm a daily walker now.
Mhm.
It's like my touchstone for well-being. It makes a huge difference for me. And there are still days, and they're not few and far between. There's a
Yeah.
lot of days that it takes me an effort to get myself to go out the door, and it might be the sun's going down. I'm like, I just got to do it, because I didn't get it in today.
Mhm.
And I use the evidence because I know every time that I get myself out there, I'm really happy I got myself out there. And so I have that evidence that helps kick myself out the door, where it's just really, it's like we have these instincts like, no, I'm going to stay home and I'm not going to go out, or it's really cold. The mind is a powerful little saboteur, and it's crafty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we have to use the evidence that we actually know better than that little voice that's telling us not to do the thing that we actually know is going to help us. So to stay aware of that and be like, okay, I'm going to do it anyway because evidence has proven that makes a positive difference in my life.
Yep.
And
Love it.
we're at the top of the hour, if you guys can believe that.
Yes. Yes.
Does everyone want to do a little wrap up sentence or two about what does it look like for someone to work with you, or if they want to work with you and learn more about what you're putting out into the world and how you're supporting people. What's a step a person can make to inquire around that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah. So reach out to me if you want to go the natural route. Well, all three of us are the natural route, but just to um, promote calm. I mean, in a world that is, shall I say, batshit crazy, we all need to calm ourselves, self calm. And I loved that, Judy, that you were unable to breathe or didn't have that tool in your toolbox. Um, it is an important tool, and we do all have it within us. It's not like breathing normally, it is a practice tool that I do offer, and it is super helpful. And please feel free to reach out. I'm all over the place on Facebook, online, and offer workshops and one on ones and groups. So feel free to reach out. Meditation to live well.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Yes, do feel free to reach out. I think all of us here are all over the place online. I would suggest you add in your calendar link or something. If someone wanted to book a call with you, Jill and Karen, then they can click the link and do that. I do offer free consultations. A lot of people who come to me, they've tried all the things, don't know why they feel the way they feel. So that process helps me to understand someone first before agreeing to work with them. Just knowing that, okay, well, can I actually help this person? Because sometimes people need more help than I can provide. But if you are at your baseline, you're aware of your thoughts, you understand the power of your thoughts, you understand the power of consistency, but you can't like seem to figure out like what's getting you stuck, like what's causing you to like, just stay in that place, then booking a free consultation would be the best way to go. It's free, the call is free. I mean, I don't know, right? To find out but my coaching practice is 6 months. I do have two options, 6 months and a year program. We would meet once a week, would work through all the stuff and achieve the goals. Karen?
Yeah, so I offer a initial call that's complimentary, and it's just to calibrate where are you at. I offer some tools in that call, but it's a great way to understand what I offer and how I can help you. And we actually make some traction in that first call. Um, I offer a lot of lifestyle practices that are reasonable and simple to implement. I like to call them tweaks because a lot of times that's all it is just making a little shift. One thing that I find is a very, very powerful tool that I use in my own life is supplementation, but it's very specific, and I vetted it, personally vetted it. I'm all about something that's of good quality, the best price, and something that will move the needle, because I've wasted a lot of time and money um, trying to find a thing that will work. I've found some things that have really worked for me and are working for a lot of other people. And it's a game changer for me personally, and I think it can be a game changer for you. And so I offer that as part of the lifestyle piece. Um, but like I said, sometimes it's just lifestyle shifts that make a huge difference in how we show up in our day to day, and having more resilience in life, and more capacity to do the things and really thrive. Getting off that struggle bus. It's a powerful, powerful thing to be able to do, and life feels good again. It feels whole again, in a different kind of way. So yeah, and Messenger is a great way to reach me. I'm trying to pull up my link tree too. I have a lot of tools in that as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. And I just love being part of your journey. So thank you for allowing all three of us to be part of your journey. Please know that healing is possible. You can feel better. You deserve to feel better, and you can feel better. It's just the keys in your hands. You are the key to feeling better. All right.
Yeah.
Any questions, thoughts, comments from our guests? No? Okay.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Jerry's muted. Jerry wants to hang out with us.
Yes, yes.
Jerry, can you hear us?
Hey, there she
Oh,
is.
there she is. Okay.
Hey.
That was amazing, you
That
guys.
was
Ah,
good.
let me
We
stop
end, yeah,
recording.